Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, alleged champagne problems in Lubbock as we have how many quarterbacks that can go win a Big 12 game? And are we buying into the Texas Tech coronation after 1 week in the Big 12 conference? Next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again. And on today's episode, we will get to those pesky crimes against the family. The penalty column has remained a busy one for Texas Tech now through 4 weeks of this season. Concrete boots, sleeping with the fishes, big time consequences for tallying up the penalty number that we've seen so far, but you survived it. So what can we extrapolate through the first month and apply moving forward in that area? We'll get to the penalties and the laundry in just a moment. Also want to get to something that you may or may not be noticing out there. I know Chris and I are, as you're processing rankings and things like that. Texas Tech entering the top 15 at number 12, and also just general credit given to the Red Raiders for this impressive road win to open up league play. Are we totally buying into it just yet as far as crowning the Red Raiders the cream of the Big 12 crop? Chris, we're 1 week into this thing, so I'm excited to ask you about that in just a moment. But first, revisiting what is and will remain, I'm sure, the most popular topic of conversation, particularly through an open week, and that is revolving around the appearance of a backup QB who was very successful in lending a hand in one of the best wins of the Joey McGuire era. We already know the approach from the program, Chris. Baron Morton, the man, and expected to feel good enough to remain as the man when you return to action in a couple of weeks in Houston. But that will not necessarily extinguish the flames of conversation among the fan base. So one particular angle today, something you and I have kind of been talking about off the air, and I think you described it as a potential champagne problem. Are we, Hammond and Hahn, going back and forth regarding a choice between quarterbacks that could both reliably win you games? Are these first world issues? We're actually debating, cussing, and discussing. What do you think?
Yeah, it's nobody is seemingly being enjoying being 4-0 right now. It's the wrong guy's starting. Like what are we doing? How brain dead is everybody over there? Chris is too close to the program. He can't really give his true opinion and all these things. Yeah.
Step back, Chris.
I know. Yeah, it's funny. I think this is where Joey's really good. He's got pulse of his team and all these things. Why they're recruiting so well is like it's the relationship aspect. But even the whole he's going to be too loyal. It's going to cost us. It's going to cost you the big prize because he just can't get out of his own way.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and yet it's really Mac Leftwich's decision. I mean, yeah, Joey has final say, but Mac could play whoever he wanted. And they've seen all the stuff, and it's just funny. I didn't get the clamoring after, because you didn't either. Like after when Barron went down in that first one, it was like there was some like, oh man, it wasn't like, hey man, we're this is Will Hammond's team now. He's good to go, and I hate it because it's like it's almost in some ways it's like kind of taken over the fact that you just went into Utah and thumped them. But I first of all, I don't care who starts. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me. You just want to win. I do think, but I do think that if history has shown us anything, you're going to need both guys, and you may need a third if history has shown us anything. I do think that Barron starts this next game, but I just don't envision a scenario to where if he were to struggle, that they wouldn't hesitate to like push that button. I think there's probably different levels of struggle or how long it goes or whatever. Will looked better than Barron the other day. How much of that was on Barron, or how much were they making better catch? I mean, I've seen all of the comments. Well, they were making, receivers were making better catches when Will was in there. There's some balls that he could have had picked, and but he missed a wide open receiver, and Barron, he underthrew guy. I mean, yeah, it's just funny because for Team Will Hammond, it's like Barron played this role like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, I was buying Shuck's bus ticket after I saw him for 15 minutes and still
this is just what happens.
Yep.
This is just what happens. Our Savior is here until the next Savior. Lloyd Jones, you'll be up in about a year and a half, 2 years.
Clock is ticking.
Yeah, and then maybe Kavion Bryant. You'll be the next guy. This is just what I mean. Sticks and pots, or that whole deal. This is just what. I don't guess anybody ever did that with Mahomes. I don't guess anybody was ever.
Well, Chris, I was going to say, I think the common denominator here is there has been, with that position in those moments you're talking about, sticks, pots, or maybe back to now, there's been room for improvement with the spot. I'm looking at Graham Harrell. I'm looking at Mahomes. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if we can find a guy to do it any better than that.
Yeah.
But we have not hit the ceiling of quarterback play. And so there's always, and then you add maybe an injury component for one quarterback or another. But, pots or sticks, I think that conversation was made possible just by the fact that neither one just ever went out there and consistently excelled.
Yeah.
So there's always like this day where it's like, well, maybe there's another guy. And, whether it's Morton's injury component or play, people can determine that on their own. But that's left just a little sliver of room to say, I don't know, is there another guy that could work it a little bit better? But that's what I'd like to ask you about the champagne problem component, because I'm not actually, and how many times can I say component in 30 seconds? There's another one. I'm not so sure it is a champagne problem. Are we actually sipping champagne yet, or are we still in search of the best that you can find at that spot? Because I don't know if I really think, no worries, you got two reliable guys that can go win you games. I think they can be parts of a winning day, but are they taking over? For Barron Morton, I don't feel that way about him as a quarterback. He's prolific on occasion, but it hasn't always been. And some of those wins, he hadn't had to be. Will Hammond, I'm still wondering, what's it like when they're game planning for him for a week, or when it is 4 quarters and it's only Will Hammond time. So I don't even know if I really buy into the kind of the luxury foundation of that conversation. You know what I'm saying? I still think we're kind of hard scrabbling here to get some of these pieces together, at least with that spot. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. And I guess what I mean by that is these are nice problems to have, because other people have a lot worse problems out there.
That's true.
And so that's kind of where I'm coming at it from. Like, if your biggest problem is, do you not have the right quarterback in there, even though he's led you to back-to-back bowls and had winning records in the Big 12 Conference last year, played behind a terrible offensive line, maybe hasn't been healthy, and you got this other kid that comes in and just is litting it up, and is that a word? Litting it?
Yeah,
has lit it up in Fort Worth in the second half, and then in the second half in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's where I'm at, I guess, on the way I phrase that, just because other people are like, I don't know if we can get a couple of touchdowns this Saturday, guys, or I don't know if we can hold these guys under 35 points, or are they about to buy us out and fire us all? I mean, there's just other people out there in the league and in the country that have major issues, and if this is your biggest one, I'm like, man, you're doing pretty good. I guess
I have to agree with that.
Yeah,
no
that was my point. Like, which champagne are we going to participate with today? But yeah, so not that you've made it or whatever.
This is too cold. This is too warm. This is too bubbly. I don't like the glass. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. And you bring up good points. And Barron's problem is that it didn't look just great in the first half. It looked, in Salt Lake, and now he's got this reputation. whether it's his fault or no fault of his own. It's just the reality of it. And I don't like it as much as anybody else does, but this is the reality, is that he has been prone to, here we are through 4 games, Cowan, and he hasn't been able to finish 2 of them, and it sucks. But this is the reality of it. I think, as we talked about, I think, and it's not your decision. It's not my decision. So people are like, I can give you all the opinions I want, but they don't really matter about who's going to be the starting quarterback. I will maintain my opinion is you need both dudes to get through this whole thing. And you may need a third. Okay. That's just the life we've been living for the last decade or so. It's a game of attrition. You will hopefully have many games left to play. I think they will try to utilize both skill sets. I do think that Joey is very cognizant of the fact that it is.
First, today's episode brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether it's the local sports bar, the coffee shop, or the corner store that's been serving your neighborhood for decades. These are the kind of places that bring people together. And when neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world, including some local favorites in the 806 like Shadow Hills Golf Course, The Outdoor Chef, Quarter Ford, Lubbock Welding Supply, Sugar Bakers, and a whole lot more. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more today. But before you do, go support your favorite local spot. Powered by Square. See you in the neighborhood. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app. So before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked on College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed.
I do think that Joey is very cognizant of the fact that it's a hell of a button to push internally.
Yes, it is.
It's a hell of a button to push. and you have to think of the right now and the big picture, and like all the mental aspects that go into it for everybody involved. But I also know this, it's not show friends, it's show business. And they will not, if they deem that somebody gives them the best chance to win, whether it's in the middle of a game or leading up to a game, that's their job. They know what's at stake. It doesn't matter how much you like one guy over the other or whatever. It's just there's a lot more to it than just going, he looked really good, like pulling the plug. Here we go, trap door. I just wanted all the and I know things have changed because you have now seen the second half. But was anybody running to the front of the hey man, let Barron go in the portal? Like, well, this is Will Hammond's team. We've seen enough. And now. Like before the season or last when he was shoulder surgery, and was everybody willing to go that route? And I didn't see any of that. Did you?
No, I was trying to make it a question, and I was surprised nobody even wanted to play with me in that sandbox this offseason. I was going out of last year like, well, you got to have a legit question there, right? And then no, that question was really never asked, and we just cruised into Morton time. And yeah. I think, Chris, it is like a matter of, well, obviously, what have you done for me lately? But clearly, Barron, Baron Morton's story, very easy to root for, and we all want it to be successful because of his background and what he is as a West Texan, and obviously growing up as a Red Raider. At the same time, though, the injury component he cannot stay out of the way of for whatever reason. It's not a question of toughness or the willingness, obviously, to sacrifice his body, but
he almost needs to be less tough.
I don't know what it is, but
or trying to, because I
think the baseball coach over there for some slide work, and I know it's easier said than done, but
like the one shot he takes, the first one, which probably started these issues, he's just handing the ball off, and it looked a lot worse in person. Like I thought, late hit, or you drove him into the ground. It didn't look as bad on the TV replay because I went back and watched it. But like the one in the third quarter that ultimately knocked him out, he's giving up his ability as a ball carrier or protection. And so, but that was that was ugly.
Yes,
that was not good. And that's where he's just got to protect himself.
You cannot trapdoor it, though. I love the way you describe that. In any sport, I mean, and especially this position, you cannot just, okay, we're switching to this. Oh, never mind. No, we're going to switch to this. Forget that. Okay, new plan. You said it's a big button to push, and it's one with that position. You don't really unpush. It ain't like maybe trying out a new left tackle or cornerback or slot receiver.
That's what I'm saying. It's just, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think Joey's trying to get out in front of it and like just say, hey, no, this is our pecking order. And I will say this: if Baron doesn't play well in Houston or at home versus Kansas, I don't think they would hesitate. I really don't. But again, that's Coach Leftwich's call as much as anything on just we're trying to win here, and like we've got some goals and we've got to reach those, and we can't let loyalty or whatever. And I guarantee you Baron would be the first one to tell you he's got to play better.
Which before leaving the game, I wouldn't have even said at that point, like, boy, Baron's really having just an awful day. And he'd just come off of one of his most statistically prolific days of his career. So I would really be curious to see what it would have been like if he was there in the fourth quarter to maybe reap some of those rewards that they were grinding out and eventually paid off. But that's not what we saw. So say la vie. It can also be a story that a backup just performs really well in a moment and makes a hand for his team, and then it's back to QB1 until
what you said is very, like, we just haven't, we don't know anybody that says they do. You just don't ultimately know what it looks like when you're the guy and they're specifically planning to take you away and your running game away or whatever. Because the only time that we have, and it's not fair to, I had somebody go, you can't judge a guy off of one start, but I don't disagree, but yet everybody is kind of saying we've seen two halves and one start, but all thumbs up, like throw the other guy out, and there's a new captain now, right? So who knows?
I'm glad to feel so good about the backup. I mean, that's a silver lining. There's no doubt, but
either way, it's just like you've got, again, these are good problems to have. In that, I think I do firmly believe you have two quarterbacks that can go win Big 12 games. I think Baron Morton is good enough to take you to a Big 12 championship. I don't think that they would have kept this situation in place if all parties involved didn't believe that. But Baron wasn't overwhelmingly great last year. Was that offensive line? Was that shoulder? But he was still 27-8 and won 8 games. And so, I mean,
a lot of people sign up for that, and I'm one of them.
I mean,
I like a little pressure on him, though. I'm not going to lie. Everybody needs a little of that. So,
and everybody, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, it's not show friends. It's show business. I mean, this is the game you're playing right here, man. And so, but I just maintain, I don't care who starts. You just want to win. So whatever that looks like, I just know that is a hell of a button to push because it just is.
That's a big matzo ball hanging out there. That's the angle I want to drill down on in this, though.
Yeah.
Do you agree, disagree that you kind of pick either and feel confident in going forward and winning games? Do you think you do actually have two that are reliable? Are you more skeptical about one over the other, though? Let us know in the YouTube comments or shoot us a text. If you're a Matador Mobster, we'll circle back to some of those comments and some other angles on this as we keep rolling through the next couple of weeks. God bless. What a time for a QB storyline to arrive when you got an open weekend. I'm sure the coaching staff has to love that. Podcasters, yeah, I'm not mad at it necessarily. It's interesting dialogue, and that's what we're here for. Chris, we're tabling that for now, though. A couple things we got to get to before we wrap up this episode. One thing I'm curious to hear from you about is some of the love that we've been seeing. First, today's episode brought to you by Mazda, and Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. And you know, with Mazda, your family's safety is number one, and that's why Mazda's won more 2025 IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anybody else. And Mazda offers more than safety with smooth handling, intuitive controls, and standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV. It's the small details that make the big plays, and just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. One thing I'm curious to hear from you about is some of the love that we've been seeing, deservedly so in many, many ways, obviously. But you and I were talking about this after the game. And we know now that we didn't know then, Texas Tech checking in number 12 nationally in the Associated Press poll this week. But in general, what this meant for their standing in the Big 12 Conference and those projections moving forward, dare I say there has been some crowning in some senses of these Red Raiders whenever it comes to a Big 12 driver's seat. I'm just going to remind everybody, it's week 1 that we're talking about. So how is that set with you? Just, I guess, some of the adoration that's been out there for our Red Raiders following that win.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's trying to hand you some trophy here for being 4-0, and it's not how it works. I've just seen way too much. Like, okay, everything does run through Lubbock, or hey, man, Big 12 champs, you know, and it's just you're 1-0. I mean, you've got it all in front of you. I think. I still think Arizona State's the team to beat. I felt like this all summer. I still feel that way. I think that's and is going to be your toughest game all season. I've never really wavered from that. The Utah game ended up being much tougher than we would have thought when we were talking about it in April, May, and June and all those things. Maybe the Kansas State game is not going to be as tough. I don't know. That's still a ways off. But, I mean, Mississippi State beat Arizona State at their place on a Saturday night with all the cowbells going, and Mississippi State's continue to win. And Arizona State is, you know, now they're 1-0, and that's an impressive road win for those guys beating Baylor. So I just think that everybody's got to be careful here because you just haven't really done anything yet. Yeah, this is just like but this is also why you're older. I think you're mature. I think there's like this, and it won't be this way if you ever win the league championship, right? But right now you're chasing. You're motivated because you haven't ever done this. This is all new. This is you're hungry. Maybe Arizona State's not as much. It's that's what Kenny Dillingham has been battling. But I just be careful about all the you've made it scenarios. And again, it's just us talking. I don't think that those kids are getting caught up in that. I just think it's kind of funny that because and here's what's funny. Can we talk about where you're in the terms of this conversation with the poll?
Yeah,
what's funny is you're ranked 12th in the country now, highest ranking since 2013, I think it was, and everybody picked Utah. Like all the TV people on all the preview shows, and everybody picked Utah. They were favored. Okay, so you go and you wear them out. You thump them by 24, and you move up, which is great. But Utah falls all the way out. So that part I don't understand because now you don't have there is no ranked win on your schedule now. So for all the Utah love, all the Utah credit. Rice Eccles, it's loud. USA Today says so.
Right.
They've got all the draft picks and all the things, but then you beat them, and now they're just out. So now you don't have a ranked win. Notre Dame, I think is 0-2, still ranked. Illinois got beat by like 53 points against Indiana and is still ranked. You see what I'm saying? It's make it make sense, I guess, will be my comment there.
I refuse to even try to make this fool's errand known as the AP Top 25 make sense. Yeah, what are you punishing Utah for? All I got beat by was the number 12 team in the country. Surely
that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't understand that part of it, because they were the favorite. They were everybody's, and then now they're
it's an exercise in futility. So we market it when we got it to market, and we're marketing right now. 12th best team in the land. Yeah, I don't know. Look, I'm a lifelong Red Raider, so let's stack a few more before we start planning parades and whatnot. That's just my personal approach. But Chris, I don't know what to tell you other than I am a believer in Texas Tech being in a different type of universe as a team now, more so this week than I was a week prior. And that's partly why I asked the question yesterday, is Utah any good? I just wanted to know what somebody that saw them in person thought about that. And it's not to demean Utah or demean Tech's victory at all. I really am just curious, because I think a lot thought this is 1 versus 2. And then you wind up with a 3-touchdown separation between supposed 1 versus 2 in whatever order you thought that might have been. And so you're wondering, all right, well, were they actually in that category to begin with? And it's probably just in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. Got a great coach. I know that. And if you're sound in the trenches, you're going to continue to compete. So they may bounce back and go on some run. I have no idea. But I'm just interested to hear some of the reaction from other Red Raiders in the audience who are no doubt soaking in the love. I mean, I was watching it with a guy that was almost commanding me following the conclusion of the game on Saturday, Chris, check out all the halftime shows. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? You want to watch the Suits? I thought maybe we'd put on Waylon. He wants to go to all the halftime shows so he can soak in the Tech love, and he learned his lesson, which I already knew. What do we get? About 120 seconds. 3 networks, 120. They don't care about us. They're mad that they got to talk about us, as a matter of fact. So another lesson learned. Let that be a lesson to you out there. Speaking of lessons, can we wrap it up on a different lesson front? How about laundry and what was previously referred to as crimes against the family? The family has been abused, Chris, to this point in the season. And, man, you and I mentioned it on our reaction episode, I think. It's crazy to think about what the score might have looked like if you didn't offer up, say, 100-plus penalty yards versus not much for the other guys. So that's a problem that we can't ignore. And, man, shooting your own toes off, never where you want to be. And it's hard to think about a championship contending team doing that thing and surviving it consistently throughout the year.
It should really give you the way it all ended up. This is actually a perfect scenario. And you're going to go, what? Because how much better could you have been had you eliminated a lot of that? So let's break these down in a few categories, because there's a bigger point that I want to make about all the false starts. But Howard Sampson, he held Daly one time, that got Barron hit. You had a roughing the kicker penalty. Bryce Pollock was trying to be aggressive and come after it. It is just slightly the wrong angle. If he just like kind of cuts it up just a bit, he's free and clear. But instead and you can't mess with the plant leg. That's where it gets dangerous. That's why you get roughing instead of running into.
Chris, do you have any insight over the years on how they coach against that? Is there a way to coach against that, or an angle or something they put in their minds? But I think you're trusting the athlete there to just be to understand leverage and space and it's hard to be mad at the guy, but
timing. Exactly. But it's also just something that, boy, what if that's the end of the game and they're kicking it to win it and he misses it and you allow him to kick a chip shot? I mean, those are just things that you can hopefully learn from. The other penalty, like on the punt, kick catch interference, this was pretty savvy by the old Utah returner here. This is clearly coached. They got one on you, because it's like he runs up, puts his hands on him, and it's like, hey, and then he steps back and catches it. And I will say that's well done because you okey doked was it Mohorn or was it?
I think it was Mohorn. Clearly coached, you say?
That's what our people thought.
Interesting.
Our people thought that this is something that they were coaching their guys to do. Maybe they're wrong, or maybe they had seen something similar watching all of this.
Yeah.
But it was clearly intentional to like kind of run up, make contact, and then back off. And then there's a lot to ask a returner to do now.
Yeah.
To like, there's a lot going on there. So if the guy gets in your grill, man, go up, touch him, back up, catch it. You're going to get, we're going to get.
That's interesting. It was a weird thing to watch. I didn't feel like I'd seen that type of sequence many times on a punt return.
and I want to say it's BS. I want to say that's but part of me says, no, man, they got you. It's kind of like a flop.
Sure.
They flop. I blame the official.
I was really curious, and I didn't know offhand. Like, I know you can get blocked into a returner or something like that. So I thought about the returner making contact with you, but I guess he's got his halo. So
yeah, that's right. And so I think if they teach that if you're just too close, like go up, initiate contact, and then try to get it together. And now it's a gamble because what if you don't get that call and then you don't gather yourself and catch it and all that stuff? Okay, the other one with the false starts and everything, the variety of so the audible clap and all that. This is why I think Joey is really good at what he does, because they admitted that they screwed this up. This was a mistake. I don't want to say that they were. I mean, he talked to some different offensive coaches around the Big 12 and other people that had played at Utah. I don't know whether they just were underrating the noise or they felt like what they could do would work. But they clearly had misjudged that, and it cost them several penalties because you're going off of the a clap and all that, and people can't hear, and you're just guessing, and it just fall. And it was Sheridan Wilson, it was Ponton, it was Howard Sampson. It just you kind of spread it around a little bit, but it just you will have a better plan. And this is why I say in a 34-10 win, there's some things that you can learn from and be better at, or that you're kind of sorting through your first road trip. You won't have this problem in Houston because I think the crowd in Houston will be, I mean, it may be 50-50. You may even have more than Houston fans there. I don't know, but it won't be Rice Eccles or anything like that. But he admitted, hey, we screwed this up. It's kind of like when he admitted, hey, man, I mishandled Micah Hudson, the whole scenario. Like I will learn from that, and because there's just a lot of coaches out there that don't admit an own goal. Like to use a soccer term, when they screw it up, you don't ever hear them. So I think that's a good quality for. Hey man, we botched it, and that's just part of his transparency here. So
I guess I would have just assumed, maybe I'm just naive as a fan, but I would assume that all offenses are just walking around with two varieties of getting a snap off, and that's maybe a little more difficult than I'm thinking.
Well, and I don't know how Coach Leftwich has done this in the past. I don't know how it's all set up and built and all the things. But yeah, it's a fair question. But it's one that they will be better off of, or better off for, having gone through this now, and they'll be ready for it for their next road games.
I felt like you were alluding to also perfect sort of circumstance to then hit a 2-week period with, because of so many teachable things to actually take away from a 24-point road win, which may not seem that easy, but we got to keep these boys hungry and humble over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right?
You can't. That's on the plan to win that Joey often talks about. I think number one on the list is don't beat yourself. And they were trying to do this over and over again on on Saturday, just like and that's the first thing he said to me when we were going to the locker room. He's like, don't beat yourself, man. He goes, we can't get out of our own way. We got to get this cleaned up. Then you come right out of the locker room, and I think you had 2 penalties on the first series, the one that Barron ended up getting hurt on, but you had 2 penalties before, like what is going on? I mean, it's just like, because double-digit penalties is bad, but like you gave him a whole football field worth of yards.
I know.
You know, and but that should make you feel pretty good that you win that game going away, and you still, because they had 2 penalties. 2. Now one of them cost them a touchdown, so the yardage doesn't really tell you that. It was a 5-yard penalty that was on them that was going the other way, fairly early in the game. So anyway, okay, well, I love all the quarterbacks. I don't care who starts. Just want to win. I love the opinions. Just try to enjoy being 4-0. Be mad and angry that whoever you want to start isn't, or vice versa. ELE, man. Everybody love everybody. It's all good.
And shout out to the Griffiths contingent showing up.
That's right. Yeah,
I think they're calling them Griffaniacs showing up in the YouTube comments.
And I'm telling you, if ever he is asked or called upon, he will run around and make some people look really silly. He's not as tall as Will and whatever, but he's very mature, well liked, has got a handful of starts at the Power 4 level, and he will run around and make some things happen too. So I just maybe it is the PTSD. I just think you're going to need a variety of guys, but I'm just telling you how I think this is going to go. I think Barron is still going to be the starter. I think Joey and staff will eliminate any talk of controversy, and maybe the leash is long, maybe it's short. I don't know, but I just don't think they would hesitate if that's what they felt like was ultimately best on pushing that button if Barron were to struggle. And then I know some people are like, well, he's already struggled. Will Hammond should be playing, but now we're back to talking about what we were at the first part. So
in addition to, just the general sense that fans are attracted to a QB conversation like moths to a flame, I also think generally there's a different kind of factor here in the sense that you are believing after what you saw on Saturday, you have got a team in many ways that could put together a very special season for Texas Tech. And so the margin for error razor thin, and you really want to get it right, particularly with one of your foundational spots, and that's your QB. So I get some of the anxiousness around it. I think that probably is rooted in that.
And we said this summer. I don't remember when I said it to you, but I know you remember that I said it. The people with the most pressure in Lubbock, Texas, as it relates to this situation, are Joey McGuire and Barron Morton, and that has not changed. That has not changed. And they get the least amount of slack, if you will. But there's a reason why you're recruiting so well and you're building this culture so well and all that. And that's why you just have to trust your head coach that he's got the pulse of the culture and all that to know how to maneuver away. Because this is adversity. You don't know when it's going to hit, but this is adversity. You're kind of, maybe it's not even that big of a deal internally. Maybe it is a big deal internally. I don't know. But like these are just kind of things you're going to have to maneuver your way through. This is just part of a football season. But I just know Will Hammond is now playing the role that Barron Morton used to play.
Externally have a ball. Go nuts, kids. Let's debate, cuss, and discuss for a couple of weeks now. All right, Chris, appreciate your time as always, man. Enjoyed it, and looking forward to the next one. So we'll see you then. Yeah, sounds good. Keep hope alive, people, and hopefully you're getting some downtime this week, and we'll come back and talk later. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thank you so much to the Everydayers for always being out there, and the Matador Mob as well. Always love to hear from you. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. You can hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in trying on that crew. All right, for Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.